So last night I had a chance to check out The Marvels, directed by Nia DaCosta, starring Brie Larson, Tiana Paris, Iman Vellani, Samuel L. Jackson, amongst others. It's the sequel to not only the first Captain Marvel, but Miss Marvel and WandaVision. And the three leads, Carol Danvers, Kamala Khan, and Monica Rambeau, are thrown together into the middle of this civil war between the Kree and the Skrulls, and they have to figure out a way to stop the threat from Dar-Ben. Needless to say, there's been a lot of discussion over The Marvels leading up to it, and now that it's been released. People have had things to say on both sides of the aisle. Some people are going to argue that this is the final push of the downfall of the MCU and that it's a complete disaster, whereas people on the other side will argue that this is the saving grace of the MCU as of the last two phases. I'm actually somewhere in the middle. I think that this is perfectly harmless fun. It has, I think, some entertainment value to keep you interested. Fun and decent action, a good sense of interplay between the three leads, with the standard Marvel humor, although I think it's a little bit more funnier than the first Captain Marvel, and even more so than the Miss Marvel TV show. I know the trailers weren't really selling people. I don't really think that this movie, as far as I can tell, was really promising anything really big. This more or less for me served its purpose. It was basically a crowd pleaser, but there's a lot of stuff that they could have fixed along the way. I'm not going to go too deep into the plot because there's not a whole lot of big stuff to talk about, like an Iron Man 3 or Winter Soldier reveal with the identity of the Winter Soldier or the Mandarin. Some small things that are kind of crucial to the characters, but I am going to talk about the mid-credit scene, so if you don't want to know what happens in there, I gave you the warning. This immediately picks up right after the finale of Miss Marvel TV show, where Kamala, Monica, and Carol are finding themselves switching places. That was a really big selling point for the previews. It wasn't really a whole lot of stuff that it was really alluding to as far as I knew. I did a trailer reaction some time ago, and after that I didn't really need to see anything else. I thought, okay, I'm gonna go see it anyway. I could care less what the discourse around the Captain Marvel character is, and a lot has been said about Brie Larson's portrayal. Looking back on Captain Marvel, I didn't think it was that bad. I have to watch it again just to be sure. I'm gonna actually try to post a years later type of video in the next couple weeks for you guys. I tried to get it out before I saw it, The Marvels. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to do any of that stuff, but it is coming. I had some issues with the movie, but not to the point where I considered it to be a disaster. And no, it had nothing to do with Brie Larson's comments promoting the movie. I'm gonna try not to get too deep into that. All I'll say is, you guys gotta get over yourselves. She's an Academy Award-winning actress. I don't really think it's her that's the problem. Unfortunately, I don't really think the movies have used her properly. I think they haven't really given us enough time to give us a sense of what she's like as a person. And this movie, I think, is a further indication of that. She wasn't bad in the first Captain Marvel, but I think in this one, she's a lot better. I mean, she still has this aura of seriousness about her, but she's given moments to really show her comedic timing, her awkwardness when she runs into Monica Rambeau for the first time. Obviously, a really awkward moment since she supposedly never came back when she promised that she would. That being said, I think she could have a moment or two where she lets her guard down and actually show her humanity. She does do that throughout this movie, but I think in some crucial moments it would have helped to maybe just sit on it a little bit and allow us to actually get inside of her head. Because at one point when she and Kamala and Monica are using these Skrull mind control things, we get to see that she actually did return and talked with Monica's mom, Maria, who died of cancer, but it was right in between Infinity War and Endgame. So she's carrying a lot of baggage deep down, along with other stuff and how she caused this war to happen between the Kree and the Skrulls. But when it's brought up, it's basically glossed over. We don't really get a moment where she actually gets to say, look, I'm sorry, I should have been there, I should have said something to you or whatever. At least something along those lines. I don't really think it would have hurt, because clearly Monica has a lot of anger and resentment towards Carol. When it comes to Iman Vellani, everybody has said this, she is definitely the highlight. I really like the Miss Marvel TV show, and this movie has made me want to watch it again. She was great in that show, and she continues to light up every single moment that she's in. Basically like Tom Holland in Civil War, where she's so awed and wowed by everything that's happening, whereas somebody like Carol, Monica, or Nick Fury will see something like that and go, yeah, so. And I think it's also something on the actress's part, the fact that she's actually in a big Marvel movie for the first time. You got the character's excitement melted in with the actress's excitement. It was very infectious, and I just could not help but laugh and smile. Even though they don't get a whole lot to do, I do like seeing her family taking part in the fight scene when they're switching places in their home and the space station and all that. It's cool to see how they're actually not completely helpless and are willing to help out in a fight. As for the stuff with the antagonist, Dar-Ben, she actually does have a backstory. They do show her feeling a lot of anger towards Carol and how she caused the war between the Kree and the Skrulls. But again, it fits into the problem that I had with Carol and the rest of her team. The movie, I don't think, really gives us enough time to absorb everything. We get glimpses of the reasons, but it's not quite enough for me on my end to grasp it, if you know what I mean. What I think really could have helped this movie is if you tacked on an extra 15 to 20 minutes. Allow us to actually sit down and take a breather and flesh out certain things. I can't speak for everybody, but I know for myself, it would have gone a long way in showing possibly just why Captain Marvel is this really important character. And it proves my point in how they haven't really used her properly. It's very rare that the MCU has had this problem. I don't know exactly what the deal is with this. Maybe it was just the wrong timing. Maybe they just couldn't find the right fit. I don't know. I think one thing's for sure, we're probably not going to be seeing her after the next couple of movies. I think they've decided this isn't working. It's really a bummer because I feel like Brie Larson could have really made a good fist with it if she was given the right material. She has her moments though, but yeah, I'm just repeating myself now. Oh, and I absolutely adore Kamala's Dead Poet Society reference when she looks at Carol doing all this cool stuff and she goes, "Oh, Captain, my Captain." You know what, kid? I say the exact same thing, but for Captain America. Sorry, but I'm not sorry. Team Cap for life. Oh yeah, and I just remembered that one planet that they were on, when she says that, this sequence was bizarre. The way the natives speak, no talking, they sing to each other. They did a Les Miserables, where that movie was mostly singing. I said to my one friend who I brought to see the movie with me, if this is gonna go on the rest of the way, I'm out of here. Thankfully it didn't last too long, but after a while it started to grate on me. And Goose the Cat makes an appearance in here again. Instead of the aura of mystery surrounding him, until they finally reveal that he has the tentacles in his mouth, they use him as a comedic gimmick like they did with Kamala and Carol and Monica switching places. But also, he's able to breed other cats or flurkins, and they use them for weird but actually useful purposes. When they showed the egg hatching and another cat came out, I thought, oh my god.
There are more of them?
And they even played a song from the Cats musical with these things. Yeah, no. Dog person all the way. As I said, this movie's directed by Nia DaCosta, who's done movies like Candyman. I think her direction gets the job done, but there's not a whole lot of stuff that I could point out where there's a certain aesthetic or style. As opposed to some of the previous Marvel films. Iron Man, it was clearly a Jon Favreau movie, or the first Avengers, it was Joss Whedon, or the Russo brothers with their Captain America films, and even some of the recent stuff with Phase 4 and 5. Spider-Man No Way Home was a John Watts production. Multiverse of Madness, that was clearly Sam Raimi's style on display. And even with Eternals, Chloe Zhao's style was pretty clear. There was still enough there where you could tell that it was a Kevin Feige production, but he at least allowed people to come in and put their own stamp on it. In the case of this, I don't know if he had enough of a creative hand in this. From what I heard, he was stretched pretty thin, and Bob Chapek was there to kind of oversee things. Unfortunately, it does show, because this movie looks like it could have been directed by anybody. Do I see that as a really big negative? Not necessarily, but unfortunately I think it's part of the reason why this movie is not as great or amazing as it could have been. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, but there's little glimpses of greatness throughout this movie that make me go, oh, come on. There's something there. You could have just held on a little bit longer. But the movie does end on a somewhat powerful note where Monica sacrifices herself to close the portal into another dimension of reality. Everybody's mourning their loss, even though I think they know that somehow she might come back around. They deal with multiversal stuff, so I guess it's not really too shocking. And it even ends with her recruiting Kate Bishop in New York City for the Young Avengers team. Come to think of it, I actually expected that scene to be like a post-credit scene type of situation. But hey, I'll take it. And as for the mid-credit scene, we see Monica in the parallel dimension, seeing an alternate version of her mother, Maria, and in the room with them is a certain individual called Hank McCoy. Beast from the X-Men. Not only that, it's Kelsey Grammer himself reprising the role. Yet another step of the MCU integrating the X-Men into their franchise. How does this exactly tie into Kang Dynasty or Secret Wars? I mean, if it does involve a multiversal war of some kind and the X-Men are involved, I can definitely see this playing into it. It certainly got me curious to see where they're going to go from here with that, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they tie this all in. I don't know if the Marvels is going to really have a lot of high praise in the future. One of my buddies said it could have a cult following in the future. It's entirely possible. You never know. Depending on how the rest of the movies follow this up, they could definitely have some kind of hand in that. It's obviously not a smack across the board 10 out of 10, but it's a perfectly harmless take it or leave it entry. The discourse surrounding Brie Larson didn't really help the situation with this one, as well as the actors and writer strikes, which are finally over, by the way. Thank God for that. I'd have to think about it, but if I was in the mood for it, I could pop it into my Blu-ray player and have a good time with it. Could have been better. but it certainly could have been a lot worse. Those are my thoughts on the Marvels. Thank you guys so much for watching. Comment below and tell me what your thoughts are on this movie. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon, and I'll see you in the next one.